There's a lot of functionality here on the main screen that I'm going to skip over for now while I drill right into a document. This is the core reviewer interface in Relativity. Note that I can jump back to the document list by clicking on this link in the upper left. At the top right, I have some options for configuring my display. I can show the doc list above the document. I also have the ability to undock this record for multi-monitor review. I can flip my coding data to the left and the document to the right. In the upper left-hand corner, I have an indication of which record I am viewing. In this case, it's AS01. You'll notice my file icon gives me a visual reference of what kind of record is being displayed below the native file viewer. Here we have an envelope, so I know that it is an email. You'll notice my cursor turns from an arrow to a hand when I hover over the icon, indicating that I have the ability to download a copy of the file locally, but only if I've been granted the right. In fact, depending on the security requirements of the case or user, we can really lock down the system. You can prevent users from downloading a file, printing a file locally, copying and pasting text out of the viewer, and running a print screen. So if you have a security-sensitive client and do not want information to leave a contract reviewer's workstation, we can provide that level of security. In the upper right-hand corner, I have a collaboration tool, and I'm able to email a hyperlink of this record to another member of the review team. If I were to click on this envelope icon, it would fire up Outlook on my machine with the URL in the body and the control number in the subject line. When another member of the review team clicks on that hyperlink, it will authenticate with Relativity, and assuming they have the rights to Relativity, the case and the document, they would be bounced right into the core reviewer interface and the document in question. If they didn't have all the necessary permissions, then the link would be useless. The series of radio buttons above the document store the different versions of the document in Relativity. Right now we're looking at the record in our native file viewer, which I'll come back to in a minute. I can also look at this document as an original native application or as a TIFF image of the document. Reviewing the TIFF is an option whether we're doing some TIFFing on the fly inside of Relativity, if it's a paper-based collection that's been scanned and coded ahead of time, or if it's a small electronic collection that's made sense to go to TIFF before review. I can look at the extracted text or OCR associated with the record, and finally, every time a document is produced, it stores a produced copy alongside the original for a quick, easy reference. I'll come back and talk a little more about that application later in the demo as well. Now let's go back to our native file viewer. KCure licensed a technology from Oracle Stellent called Outside In. The same technology you may be familiar with from a program called Quick View Plus. It allows us to get a high-fidelity static rendering of the file on the fly without the need to convert to TIFF, PDF, or HTML behind the scenes. So we can give users the speed and control they're used to in a TIFF-based review without the time and cost normally associated with conversions. Because we have licensed the technology and gotten our hooks into it, Relativity lets users interact with native files in richer ways than possible in other systems that convert to low-resolution TIFF or HTML behind the scenes. For instance, we can go in and copy text out of the viewer and paste it and submit it to a search engine. You can utilize Relativity Analytics, which is a set of concept search, categorization, and clustering features built within the application. You'll also notice that right now, Relativity and Document are already highlighted for us. This is a concept referred to as persistent highlighting. Persistent highlighting allows the user to feed Relativity a list of terms at any time in the review process, maybe a list of potentially privileged words or some key players in the case, and have them keyed out to the reviewers regardless of whether or not this is actual user-generated search criteria. They can also be color-coded for instant contextual recognition. So magenta may be a privileged word, and green may indicate a key player. Additionally, to the left of the viewer, we have a persistent highlighting tree. The persistent highlighting tree allows users to control which hits they want to see on a term or a set level, and provide instant contextual recognition as to which hits are contained within a record or the frequency of those hits. They're completely securable from user to user and from group to group. Now I'm going to shuffle through a few common file types so you can get a feel for how they're going to render in our native file viewer. Here we have an Excel spreadsheet. You'll notice that I can maintain some control over the document, and I can resize my columns. I also still have persistent highlighting, and I can use these blue arrows to navigate from hit to hit. So if I were to do a keyword search and it returns 12,000 rows in an Excel file, I can use these blue arrows to jump straight to that hit and have it keyed out for me instead of having to wade through this entire Excel nightmare. Next, we have a PowerPoint presentation. Note that I still have my persistent highlighting, and I can use the blue arrows to jump from hit to hit within the PowerPoint presentation, which will take me through the various slides in which those hits actually occur. Next, we have a Microsoft Word document in Korean. Relativity is fully Unicode compliant, so you can load, search, and display foreign languages, double byte languages, and CJK characters. You can get persistent highlighting, tagging and coding, copy foreign words from the viewer, paste them, submit them into a search engine. All the same functionality you can get with English language documents. is available for foreign language documents within Relativity. One of the pain points in native file review is that sometimes these files contain embedded content. Because native file viewer only shows you the finalized version of the document, it isn't always evident to the reviewer that the embedded content exists. In Relativity, we can actually configure the system to throw an alert to our reviewers to let them know that this type of data is present. So here you see an alert that states, document contains track changes and comments. Please view the image file for this record to see the hidden content. I'm going to click OK and flip over to the image. As you can see, we were already able to tip this document on the fly with track changes and comments included. And I can make the coding decision from here. Are there any other questions or comments on Relativity's native file review before we look at redacting and annotations in Relativity?